Hi everyone, my name's Aleta and this is Buddhism for Beginners, session 4. If anyone is there watching, if you would like to introduce yourself, just put your name in the comment bar. And if there are any questions or comments at any stage, feel free to write them in the comment bar as well, and I will try to address them. If I don't know the answer to any questions, I will refer it on to a teacher who is wiser and more experienced and knowledgeable than me at the Vajrayana Institute. There are many excellent teachers there, and I can get back to you with an answer next week. And I just remembered I had a question last week which I didn't actually get to ask about at VI. I'm very sorry. Karen, I think it was, who asked a question. I will write it down straight after this and make sure I try and get an answer for you for next week, Karen. Hi, Crystal and Vince. It's lovely to have you here. I don't know why your comment is up there instead of down there, but that's okay. So tonight we're going to talk about karma and also death and dying. And I know that Crystal in particular is quite fascinated by karma, which I am as well. And it's hard for me to do these classes without the interaction and the questions and the comments, particularly karma, because it's the sort of thing that I think you can learn a lot more about the way karma works by thinking of your individual experiences in life and how karma plays out. But we'll see how we go. And if you do have any questions or comments about particular things in your own life in relation to karma, please put them in the comment bar. I'm just trying to adjust my screen so that I get all of Shakyamuni Buddha in there, because that's good karma. Okay, so we'll start with our arrival meditation to help us to transition from what may have been a busy, stressful day, maybe. And maybe our mind is quite busy and holding on to some of the stresses and worries that we may have had today. So we just give our body and our mind the opportunity to arrive in the present moment, to let go of any of those worries or fears or plans that may have been weighing on our mind. We can just place aside all of these concerns of our daily life for now. And we can always pick them up at the end of this session if we wish. But just for this class, we'll see if we can be a person in this moment with no history and no future. So just taking a couple of deep breaths all the way into the belly if you can. Maybe you can have a sense of releasing anything you've been holding on to with the out breath. And then just letting the breath flow into its natural rhythm. And feeling the points of contact of our body with that solid, secure surface holding it. Having a sense of feeling secure and safe, being held. And just for a moment, thinking of our motivation for being here tonight, the reason that we're searching, looking into Buddhism. Why are we doing that? Just thinking of our own individual reason for being here. And seeing if we can develop a positive motivation for being here. And then we see if we can expand that positive motivation outwards to benefit not just us, but every being who comes in contact with us. May we help all of us to be more compassionate, kind, caring, wise, and calm people. And we could imagine this expanding out to every being in the world, resulting in the world being a more peaceful, kind, equal, and just place. And just being aware of our body in this moment, noticing any areas of tension that we're holding on to, any discomfort or pain in the body. And just imagining that we could breathe into those areas of tension or discomfort or pain. As you imagine breathing into that area, imagine suffusing the area with the loving kindness of your breath. Having an attitude of taking care of ourselves. And as you imagine breathing out from that area, imagine releasing that tension or discomfort or pain with each out breath. If you find you can't release the tension or the discomfort, that's okay. Maybe you can just release a small part of it with the out breath. Or maybe you could just imagine how it would feel to be able to release. Now we just gently place our attention on the breath wherever we notice it the most in this moment. It may be at the nostrils or on the upper lip, maybe the rise and fall of our chest or the rise and fall of our belly, or it might be the complete wave-like flow of the breath. Wherever you notice the breath the most in this moment, just gently placing the attention there. And just observing each in and each out breath. Not trying to control the breath in any way, just allowing it to be. And having a sense of curiosity about the breath, noticing whether it's short or long, deep or shallow. Fast or slow. Do you notice any pause between the in and the out breath? Or do they just flow from one to the other? There's no right answer, it's just your experience. Do you notice a difference in temperature between the in and the out breath? Being aware of the breath, we are in the present moment, just this moment, just this breath. Maybe we can have a sense of gratitude for this breath that sustains us. This breath is with us from the moment we're conceived, born, to the moment that we die. How amazing is that? When the mind wanders, don't worry about it. Be grateful that you notice that the mind wandered. That means you're being mindful. When you notice that the mind has been distracted, just gently bringing the attention back to the breath, to the present moment, again and again. Sometimes it helps us to lighten up, to have a slight smile. We don't have to be squeezing our brain, concentrating too hard. We can actually enjoy our meditation. Now just noticing the state of the body in this moment without judgment, just noticing how it is, and noticing the state of the mind in this moment. No right or wrong, just your experience. And becoming aware of the points of contact of our body with that solid, secure surface holding it. Noticing the touch of our clothes on our skin and the air on our skin. Noticing the noises inside the room. The noises outside the room. And when you're ready, feeling joyful and relaxed, gently open your eyes and have a stretch. When I heard myself say that the breath is with us from the moment we're conceived, which is actually not true, I don't think. Um, the moment we're born, I think is more correct. So instead of beating myself up, it just made me smile. I amused myself. So, karma. We talked about karma last week, and if there's any comments or questions from anyone who may have listened to last week's lesson, feel free to put them in the comment bar. We were going to start with the 4 general characteristics of karma. The 4 characteristics of karma are that karma is definite, karma expands, we cannot experience the result of an action that we haven't done ourselves, and once created, karmic seeds don't fade away. So I'll just briefly comment on each of those characteristics. And it's really good to think about all these things that we're talking about in relation to what's happening in our life and the sorts of things that go on in our regular day-to-day activities, particularly when we have challenges. It's really, really helpful to reflect upon karma and see how karma is playing out in our own life. So the first characteristic was that karma is definite. And there's a nice set of analogies that they use, it particularly in this book, which I don't have with me tonight, that this course is based upon. which was written by Miffy Maximilian from the Brisbane FPMT Centre. So this analogy for karma is definite, is that if we plant a cherry tree, we will always get cherries, not chilies. Karma is definite. So negative actions that we do will always result in negative consequences. Positive actions that we do will always result in positive consequences or effects. So a negative action is always going to, at some stage, bring us suffering. A positive action is always going to bring us, at some stage, happiness. It's definite. Karma gets a bit tricky though, a bit complicated when you examine all our different actions, because often it's not a purely positive action or a purely negative action. There is a mix of negative and positive intention in there. So that's a really good one to think about in our own life as well, to examine our actions and just reflect upon whether that was as positive an intention as I was actually meaning it to be, or was there a little bit of negative intention, not so positive intention that crept in there, but maybe because I wasn't mindful. For example, we may be kind to someone, be generous, and we may have the motivation of helping that person, to help them to be happy, to help them to lessen their suffering. But maybe at the same time, there's also some wish that we are appreciated by that person. So it's not purely about helping that person. There's a sense of me in there, thinking about myself. I want to be appreciated. I want to be thanked. Or I might want to get something else out of it. And sometimes we don't realise that there's that sort of an aspect in a positive action, but maybe in certain situations it will sort of rear its ugly head a bit to show us that we're not as purely focused on the other person as we thought. If we're trying to help someone and they just don't seem to get it, and they just seem to keep repeating whatever the harmful thing is that they're doing, which we're trying to help them to release that harmful thing, and they just keep doing it again and again and again, and you get frustrated. Why is that? Because you want a result. You want to feel good about yourself that you've helped this person and you can see that they've actually been helped. It's, in the end, it's really up to them whether they're helped or not by your actions. It's not up to you. But if your motivation is positive, that you want to try and help, then you should be satisfied and just be grateful that you could do something to try and help, rather than feeling frustrated or upset or as if you want to give up if that person doesn't benefit from the action which you did, if that makes sense. It's just about examining why we're doing things, and is there some negative motivation in there or something other than what we actually thought it was all about. Just being mindful. And if we're mindful, we can maybe develop the positive aspect of the motivation more. Maybe if we notice that there is some negative intention in there or negative motivation, we can actually transform that into a positive if we're aware of it. So by doing this, we're creating good karma for ourselves, developing our motives, being a better version of ourselves. So the second characteristic of karma is that karma expands. I think this is a really interesting one to think about as well in our daily life. Small actions can bring great results. And with that analogy of the apple tree, if we plant an apple seed, we not only get an apple tree, we also get apples, flowers, and more seeds to grow more trees. So from one tiny little seed, we have all of that. And we have the potential of more apple trees going on and on and on, maybe for endless time. An endless supply of apples and trees and flowers, all from one little seed. That's how much karma expands as well. Karmic potentials have the tendency to increase in power over time. And as an example, with a negative action of telling a small white lie about something, we might think that that's quite in effect from just telling a small white lie. But you may have experienced at times that, like now, when it tells me that my internet is having a bit of a break. Can you hear me now? So if we tell a small white lie that we don't think we're going to get much negative effect from, we may find that because we told a small white lie, we have to tell another lie at some stage to cover up for that lie. And then that may expand and we have to tell another lie to someone else to cover up what we were lying about in the first place. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I have. Like if you say that you can't go to a social event because you've got to do some work or something, and then maybe the friend that you told that to is talking to another friend and they say, no, but I saw her up at the shops. And then you've got to quickly think and tell another lie to explain why you were at the shops. And then and it can just really grow into many, many lies or into a snowballing sort of lie. So it's going to bring greater consequence. With an example of positive action, we decide that we want to develop a meditation practice maybe to help us to be more calm and kind people who can help other people. We might just start that meditation practice with a 5-minute meditation today on our first day. That's not a big action, it's just 5 minutes, but that may be the start of a long-term, regular, really beneficial meditation practice, which may last your whole life. You may really develop your mind incredibly, develop your wisdom and compassion, help lots and lots of people, including yourself, which all came from that initial 5-minute meditation. So that's the sort of effect that you can have. The third characteristic of karma, we can't experience the result of an action that we haven't done. And this sounds pretty obvious if you accept the view of karma. We can't experience the result of an action that we haven't done. But sometimes it seems that we're experiencing the view of karma that we have developed. If we, for example, try and break up a fight between two people to stop them hurting each other, and in that action of trying to stop them from being hurt, we may be seriously injured, maybe trying to break up that fight. That consequence for us, that we are injured, that we are suffering, is not actually the effect from our action of doing the positive thing of breaking up the fight. That is actually the result of a previous action that we've done at some stage in the past. So we've done a negative action some stage in the past, and it may be a previous lifetime, and the karmic result of that is only just happening now. So although it may look like we were trying to do something positive, breaking up the fight, and then we had this negative result from that, it's not actually a negative result from us breaking up the fight. It's from a previous negative karma. So we always get the results of actions that we have done. There is no result without a cause, and nothing happens by chance if you accept this view of karma. Prayer and hope alone will not bring a result. We need a substantial cause. So we need an action. Just praying for apples will not give us an apple. It's not enough. We have to plant and tend the apple seed, or at least go to the supermarket to buy the apple. So all of these are really helpful things when we think about what we're expecting to happen in our life. Maybe we're expecting that we deserve to get positive karma, and we don't. We can reflect upon all these things and see why it's not as simple as we think it is, unless we look into all the complexities of karma. It does make perfect sense, Crystal or Vince. We just have to tease it out and reflect upon it all. And then I find it really beneficial. Thinking about karma helps me whenever I'm struggling. It helps me whenever I have challenges. It helps to motivate me, to keep my motivation positive. It helps me in so many different ways, so many different ways in every day, I would say. As long as I'm mindful. When I'm not mindful, not so much. Okay, so the fourth characteristic of karma: once created, karmic seeds don't fade away. The only way to eliminate those karmic seeds that we carry in our mind is through experiencing the result or destroying the seeds by purifying them. So this is the good news, that it is possible for past negative actions to be purified by practicing purification methods. The Buddhist purification practice involves what they call the four opponent powers of regret, reliance, remedy, and resolve. And I'll talk more about that practice a little bit later on. But it's really good to know that we can purify past negative actions that we've done. So these karmic seeds that we carry on our mind stream eventually ripen when we meet the right karmic conditions. But we can remember that we can always influence our conditions. When we put ourselves in certain situations, either mental or physical situations, it's much easier for a particular karma to ripen. For example, if you go into a situation where there's a lot of violence, you're likely to get a particular type of karma ripen. Negative karma would be more likely to ripen in that situation. If you go on a retreat, you're likely to get positive karma rather than the likelihood of getting negative karma in that violent situation. So you try and make conditions as good as you can, as conducive as you can to having positive karma ripen. At the same time, if negative karma does ripen for you, we can always look at that as purification. It's using up negative karma, which we are never going to have to worry about again in the future. So I have a friend who every time she kicks her toe on the coffee table or bangs her head or, one of those accidents where it's a real ouch, every time that happens to her, she just immediately says, yes, that means I don't have to deal with that negative karma ever again. So it's like purification. So we can look at negative things that happen as a positive thing because we don't have to worry about that particular negative karma in the future. So there's all these things are so helpful. They're such helpful psychological tools that we can use to transform our mind. What choices we make, what mental attitudes we have, what motivation we have affects what kind of karma ripens at any particular moment. So we have to have a really vast mind in terms of understanding how karma plays out and not just see it as a simplistic thing. There are many different factors, and if we've been recycling through samsara for beginningless time, we've created an awful lot of actions. So all that karma is going to manifest. We're going to experience the results of all that karma, and it obviously is not a simplistic thing. It's quite complicated. They say that to actually see how someone's karma plays out, you have to actually be a Buddha. You have to have an enlightened mind to be able to see all those complexities of karma. Hi, John. Nice to see you. John says, I blame myself when I accidentally bang my foot on furniture. Now I'll be grateful for that karma to pass. Yes. Well done, John. I try to do that every time. And, I still have the pain and I still sort of have the wish that I hadn't kicked my toe on the coffee table. But it does actually help having that little transformative thought that I never have to deal with that negative action or result again. So good on you, John. Keep doing it. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Any other questions or comments? So there are many misconceptions about the causes of our suffering. We often identify the wrong things as the cause of our particular problems and sufferings that arise. And thus, we can never seem to be rid of them. If we don't know what caused them, then it's hard to purify or evolve, learn, grow, and be able to rid ourselves of those problems because we don't know what the cause was. But we alone are capable of determining our own future. Nobody else can control our destiny because karma is in our mind. It's not a giant ledger in the sky. It's not someone punishing and rewarding us for positive and negative actions. It's all our responsibility. We create our future, we create our reality, we create our life, which is quite liberating to me to know that I'm responsible for it all, rather than thinking that it's not fair that another being, a god or whatever, has given me these horrid conditions for something which I don't know why. What have I done to deserve this negative situation, this really tough situation? If we have the view of karma, it's all me. It's what I've done in the past, and I can change it. I can change the way I look at it now. I can change the way I respond to this situation, and I can change my future. Very powerful to have that view. So, one common conception that people may have is that there's no cause or reason for our suffering, that it's just random. We were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, they say. That's not the way things are. Another misconception attributes the wrong cause to our suffering. So, like in that example where I was talking that we do a positive action and then we seem to get a negative result. So we blame it on that positive action that we did. I shouldn't have bothered. I'm going to give up trying to be kind because I just get kicked in the teeth when I try and be kind. That's attributing the wrong cause to our suffering now. Does that make sense? And we often think that our suffering is caused by another person or something out there, but it's not. It's all us. It's our actions from the past, and it's the way we respond to that situation. Now, we cause our own suffering. We cause our own happiness. Another misconception is that suffering comes from one cause only, just one cause. We think that if someone's just driving us nuts, causing us so much pain, we just blame everything on that one person, or even smaller, what that one person is doing. That one thing is what is causing all our suffering. This is a total misconception because there are many different conditions contributing to our suffering. We can't just blame that one tiny thing. As an example, if I'm relaxed, happy, feeling well, things are going good, I'm in the zone, then I can handle a challenging situation really well, maybe. If I had that same challenging situation at a time when I was feeling not well, haven't been sleeping, I've got other stresses at the same time. All these different types of conditions contribute to how I meet that challenge. And I think we can all probably think of examples in our own life where, sometimes we're really surprised how well we rise to the challenge. And other times we may beat ourselves up because why did we react so badly? We should know better than that. This is not helpful to beat ourselves up. But we can have that view of its many different contributing factors, not just the one thing that we're focused on. People relate to that. I certainly can. I can remember once years ago when I had only been going to VI for a short period of time. I may have already taken refuge, but I was still even more a beginner than I am now. And I asked for an appointment with Geshe Sampton out at Vajrayana Institute because I was having a lot of trouble with. I've got to be careful because I'm on YouTube. I had a lot of trouble with a particular person, and I was getting really, really angry and really, really stressed by this one person. And so I went to Geshe Sampton and said, can you please help me, tell me what sort of practices I can do to help myself? And this was the main thing that he said to me, that I was focusing on one tiny little dot, he called it. You think this one tiny little dot that you're focused on is the cause of all your anger. You've got to have a much bigger mind and see the big picture. And that was really, really significant to me. I always look for the bigger picture now, and it really, really helps me. When you think about the bigger picture, you're considering, what's contributing to that person's current emotional state. What are all the other reasons for this affecting you so much? What's the story for that person that's making them suffer to be making things difficult for you? Having a big picture really helps. And this is all karma. Karma is more complex, and we have all these karmic conditions and karma ripening just constantly. So the strength of an action corresponds to whether it's complete or only partially realized. So when you do an action, the effect from that action will be less or more depending on whether you had the four aspects of a complete karmic action. So I'm going to tell you what the four aspects of a complete karmic action are. One is motivation or intention, and this is the really big one. This is what karma is really all about, is our motivation. But as I said before, often our motivation is a mixture of positive and negative. So there's going to be a mixture of positive and negative in the effect that results from our action as well. And unless any of us are Buddhas and we've perfected our mind, then we all have some level of ignorance as well. Our mind is not perfect. There is some ignorance there. So that's always a part of our actions as well. And we're going to have the result of continuing this cyclic existence because we have that ignorance still until we perfect our mind. So that was the first aspect of an action, a karmic action, is the motivation. The second aspect is the object of our action. And that may be a sentient being, a being which has a mind. It may be an enlightened being. It may be an inanimate object. That's the second aspect, the object. So we have motivation, object. The third aspect is the actual action itself. So either we do the action or we get someone else to do it. So we may tell someone else to do something. We get the karma for that because we've told that person to do it. And then the fourth aspect of an action, karma, is rejoicing. So we've done this action and then we're happy we did it. Oh, thank God I did that. Oh, I'm so grateful that I did that. I'm so happy that I did that. Or on the other side of it, we could really regret that we did that. But that's the fourth aspect. And if all those four aspects are present, sometimes they're not. If all four are there, then this becomes a very powerful action, very powerful karma. If only some of the aspects are present, then it's not all the karma is collected and we experience a less serious result. So this can work both for and against us, depending on whether our motivations are positive or negative. For example, if you kill a rat that's in your house, it would be a complete karma with all those four aspects if you had the motivation. So your motivation might have been you wanted to kill the rat because you hate rats. And that's probably the most powerful motivation in that situation. You're killing it because you hate it. On the other hand, you might have the motivation that you wish that you didn't have to kill the rat. You care that you're making it suffer, but maybe you see that that rat is going to bring disease or harm your children, people in your household. So with that sort of motivation, the karmic effect would be less negative in this instance. So that's the motivation. There is an object, which is the rat. So we've got the second aspect there. Killing a rat will not have as powerful negative karma as killing a Buddha. Well, you can't kill a Buddha, but killing a spiritual master or trying to harm a Buddha or killing your mother or father. Killing a rat is not going to have anywhere near the strength of negative karma of killing those higher level sort of beings. So we've got, in this case, we've got the motivation, we've got the object, we've got the action of killing. We did it ourselves. And then the rejoicing. If we kill the rat and then we say, oh, I'm so glad I killed that rat, I feel so much better now, that's rejoicing. If we have all those four aspects, then that is a complete karma. This is also known as a throwing karma. So this brings us to the three types of karmic result. So the first type of karmic result is that complete karma or throwing karma, when all the four aspects are there in an action. And this throwing karma or complete karma ripens at our death and determines what our next rebirth will be, what form our body takes, what realm we're born in. So this complete karma or throwing karma may result in us being reborn as a human in the human realm, or as a hungry ghost in a hell realm, as an animal in the God realm. These are the results of those complete actions where there's those four aspects. Where not all the four aspects are there, for example, you may kill that rat, but then you don't rejoice at the end. You don't have that fourth step. Maybe you just killed the rat and then something else happens and there was no rejoicing at all. So it's not a complete karma. In that case, where all the four aspects are not there, it's called completing karma. And the types of karmic result from completing karma can be a result which is similar to the cause or an environmental result. So the result similar to the cause can be in terms of our experience or in terms of our behaviour or personality. The types of experiences we have while we're alive are these karmic results where the result is similar to the cause of the original action that we did. So for an example, if we kill, then the karmic result could be to be killed ourselves, or to die young, or to get sick. If we steal, the result similar to the cause could be our things are stolen in the future. So the result that we get similar to that first action, result similar to the cause. The result similar to the cause in terms of our behaviour or personality is our characteristics, our habits, our nature. For example, if we kill, then the result similar to the cause in terms of our behaviour is that we have a tendency to keep killing. We have that habit of killing. And this is considered to be the worst type of karmic result because we continue to get more negative karma. If we kill once and then we get the result similar to the cause of having the tendency to keep killing, we keep getting that karma on and on and on. On the other side of the coin, if it's a positive behaviour, a positive action that we do, and we get a result similar to the cause in terms of our behaviour, that could be we do something generous and then we have the characteristic of being a generous person. Being generous is just like second nature to us or first nature. So the initial action, we were generous. The karma for that is that we have this habit of we keep being generous. We like being generous. It's what we want to do. And so we keep getting positive karma for it, which is great. So that's results similar to the cause in terms of our behaviour or personality. The other type of result similar to the cause is environmental result. So our karma ripens in the type of environment that we now have, or the type of environment that we're born into. So this includes our physical environment, the climate, the culture, the government, the availability of food in our area, whether there's natural disasters that occur around us, whether we're in a war-torn country. If we kill, then having an environmental result for that would be that we are in a dangerous environment. So it could be that we live in a place of war, or there could be earthquakes or hurricanes that happen in that place, that country where we are. All these different things that happen to us, and our personality, our habits, our environment, it's all karma, all karmic conditions that have resulted from actions that we have done in the past. Interesting. I think it's a really interesting and very useful reflection to examine what our life is like, what our life experience is like, our conditions are like, and just think about what past actions we may have done to have all these results now. Very interesting, John. I think it's fascinating. Um, there are some specific examples in the notes, the course booklet. Yeah, it's very interesting. Some of those specific examples, the results of stealing could be rebirth as a hungry ghost. A hungry ghost is always craving, they can never satisfy themselves. Constant craving and anxiety of not having enough. So, that's like one of the most powerful results of stealing. You might get lesser impact results of stealing, but it could be that. Another result of stealing could be that you experience your own things being stolen or lost, or you don't have enough to live on. You don't have enough possessions. These are all results of stealing. A result similar to the cause in terms of our behaviour or personality from stealing could be that we are a kleptomaniac. We can't stop ourselves. We just have this urge to steal again and again and again. Or, we like stealing. We get a kick out of it. It's all karma. John says, could you please teach us how to reverse karma? The one where it involves regretting truthfully. Okay, so you're talking about purification practice, John? We are going to talk about that, if that's what you mean. So we're purifying past negative karma by doing this practice of regret, reliance, remedy, and resolve. Yes, we'll do that. Just some more little examples quickly, though, because these fascinate me. I've heard these sorts of examples from very realised beings, teachers like Lama Zopa Rinpoche. He said that the results of generosity are to be reborn as a human with all the resources that we need. The things come easily to us, like money and possessions. People give us things if we were generous in the past. We win money or win things. We're financially well supported, financially secure. Our environmental results from generosity could be that there is good soil in the area, abundant crops, good jobs are available, it's a pleasant climate. All those sorts of effects can come from being generous. The results of lying could be that you are subject to slander. So other people could be gossiping or slandering you, putting you down all the time. That's a result of your lying. Results of harsh speech could be that you are spoken to rudely or get criticised a lot. Result of harmful intent on your part could be that you distrust or fear others. The result of taking intoxicants can be confusion, which is an interesting one. The result of jealousy can be that you have little beauty. The result of anger can be an unattractive complexion, apparently. And the result of rejoicing in others' good fortune can be to be attractive, physically attractive yourself. So think about the results. And if you don't want a negative result, don't do that negative action. There is no coincidence in Buddhism. Everything we experience is an effect of our actions. I think that's a really fascinating one to think about as well, when you think that something is such a coincidence. The Buddhist view is no, it's not a coincidence. So reflect upon that. What we are now is the result of our previous actions. What we do now determines our future. So I find this very enabling. We are the master of our future. We can control how a karmic imprint matures, how we react to things, thus how we cause our future to play out. Types of harmful situations or people that keep reappearing in our life are from strong past habits. So we can learn and grow from noticing these things if we reflect upon it. And then we can respond in more helpful, skillful ways to overcome these harmful, habitual tendencies from the past. It's pretty good, isn't it? And we must always remember that we should develop the utmost compassion for others, knowing that their suffering comes from their own past actions, just as ours do. We have all been cycling around since beginningless time, so we've all done probably just about every negative action that you can think of, and maybe every positive action as well. We've done it all. So we're all going to get negative actions, negative effects in the future, and positive effects. When we see someone who's really suffering greatly now, we have compassion, knowing that we're not judging them. We're not saying, well, it's just your karma. You've done negative action, so you deserve this. That's definitely not what the view is about. We have immense compassion, knowing that we have done negative actions as well. And we can be in that same position at some stage as well. So if we can have compassion for that person now, if we can help that person now, we are helping them as well as helping our future as well, helping everyone's karma. And we can always practice those 4 opponent powers, which John was interested in, of purification, so that we don't have to suffer the harms from our negative actions again. So sometimes they're known as the 4 R's: regret, reliance, remedy, and resolve. But sometimes they're termed slightly different names. Sometimes it's they use the word refuge rather than reliance. But basically, that's what it's about. And we need all these 4 opponent powers to completely purify a negative action. So we have to do this practice really purely, really well to purify negative actions. And again, this is a practice, so it's about doing it to the best of our ability now. And the more we do it and the more effort we put into it, the purer our intention, then the better the result. That's what practice is all about. Oh, we're going to run out of time again, but we're going to get the 4 opponent powers done. So the first step, regret. This is not guilt. It's merely wishing we hadn't have done that negative action. We just recognise that we made a mistake. I did something which caused harm. I wish I hadn't have done that. And now I'm going to do this purification practice to purify it. There's no place for guilt in Buddhism. Guilt is not helpful, not skillful at all. So the difference between regret and guilt, if you're guilty, you say, I did an action and I'm a bad person because I did that action. That's not what is helpful. That's not what we're doing here. Regret, on the other hand, is just saying, I did a negative action. I made a mistake. Moving on, we're going to purify. So reliance, or refuge, it's sometimes called, is the next power. And this could be taking refuge in the 3 jewels. If you're Buddhist, take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. It could be taking refuge in God or Jesus Christ if you're a Christian. It could be taking refuge or relying on our potential, believing that we are innately good people, capable of perfecting our mind, or at least becoming the best version of ourselves we can be. So it's having confidence that we can do this practice which will stop us suffering in future. Does that make sense? It could also be relying on Vajrasattva, who is the Buddha of purification. So there's different ways of doing this practice in Buddhism, but the 4 powers are the same, whichever practice you do, if that makes sense. Well said. Thanks, Crystal or Vince. Makes sense? Excellent. Yes, I'll talk a little bit about the different types of practices. But I'll go through those 4 powers first. So reliance, we could also have reliance on other beings to develop our compassion. So that's a really nice one, to think that these people that are causing us to suffer, or these people who we find it really difficult to accept that there's such great suffering in the world, we're actually relying on those people to develop our own compassion. This is part of our path. The way we're going to become enlightened ourselves and be able to help all others is because of these people that we have passion for. So we're relying on that as well. These people who are suffering or causing us to suffer are precious to us. That's another part of that reliance power. So then the third power is the remedy, is the positive action that we're doing to rebalance or counterbalance that negative action that we did, that we're purifying. So when we do this remedy, this positive action, we try and make it enjoyable. The more enjoyable it is, the more beneficial it is to us. We put joyful effort into this remedy. So it could be lots of different things. The remedy could be that you apologise to the person that you've harmed. That's always a really powerful one if you can. Sometimes it's not possible because that person's no longer there, but that's always an option if you can do it, to apologise. And you can do all sorts of things like visualising that you experience a feeling of transformation, that you actually feel that you're purifying. Sometimes that can be done by visualising white healing light filling your body and your mind. You could also visualise the negative in you as being expelled with the out breath in the form of darkness or smoke. So you could do that sort of remedy, a visualization remedy to help to purify you. You could do very practical sorts of remedies, like a opposite sort of an action to whatever that negative action is, a really good one. For example, if you harmed an animal, you could go out and work in an animal shelter to help animals. You could go and liberate animals. If you were selfish and greedy, you could go out and be generous. You could give money to charity, to the poor. You can be creative, make it personal, make it what works for you the best. But it's a positive action to counter that effect of the negative action that you did. And one of the remedies could be to do Vajrasattva practice, which is, as I said, Vajrasattva is the Buddha of purification. And there is a visualization practice that you can do where you visualize Vajrasattva purifying you. And they do that as a retreat quite regularly at the VI. Not at the moment because no one can go there, but when we're through this COVID negative karma, there might be a Vajrasattva practice on, or you can Google and you might be able to do an online one, John, if you're interested in that. I think, Crystal, did you do a Vajrasattva retreat once at the VI? I think. But you get the idea that the remedy is doing something, some sort of practice or practical action, which is a positive one to counter effect that negative one that you did, which is very, very powerful. And then the fourth opponent power is resolve. So we resolve to not do that negative action again for a particular period of time. It's best to have a goal of something which is realistic to you, a goal that you will be able to meet, or an achievable sort of a goal. So if you got angry and yelled at someone, it might be really unrealistic to say, I resolve to never get angry again. That's a goal that you're probably not going to be able to keep unless you're better than me. But I could say that I resolve to not get angry for 24 hours, or I resolve to not get angry with that particular person that I just got angry with for 24 hours or 6 hours or 1 hour or 5 minutes, whatever you think you can realistically achieve. That's better to set a goal like that. And then that really gives you a sense of accomplishment and gives you the motivation to be able to improve. Um, if you get angry again at some stage in the future, maybe you can resolve to not get angry for 3 hours instead of 1 hour that you set the goal for the first time. It's all about inspiring ourselves. And Crystal did Green Tara retreat. Yeah. Very beneficial doing retreats. Even mini ones, they often do just 1 day retreats at VI, which are very, very helpful. So this practice of purification, using those 4 powers, regret, reliance, remedy, resolve, is a really, really helpful practice to do every day. I do it every night before I go to bed. So at the end of the day, I think back over the day about what have I done today which was negative, and I regret doing those things, and I'm going to do purification practice now. And as well as regretting things that I did today, I can have the wish that I purify all the negative things that I've done since beginningless time. So I can have that specific goal of purifying the actions that I remember, particularly today, or actions sometime in the past which I do remember. I can also have the bigger goal of purifying all those negative actions that I did that I don't remember in previous lives or previously in this life that I've forgotten about. So we can have the smaller view and the bigger view at the same time. We can do that every night and go to bed with a clear conscience and then have a fresh start the next day, having purified the night before, which is a really nice way to have a fresh new day, a fresh new start each day. And we can also purify at any time. The more you do it, the better, basically. So every time you do a negative action, if you can do even a quick form of purification straight after that negative action, that is awesome. That's really, really powerful. And again, you make this practice your own. You make it what works for you. You could do something really quick. If it's going to be on the spot, when you've just done a negative action, you want to purify straight away, you can just run through those 4 things. Regret, yes, I regret doing it. Regret, reliance. I'm going to rely in my confidence that I can purify my mind, or I go for refuge, the 3 jewels. Remedy, okay, I'm going to do Vajrasattva mantra, which I don't have time to go through with you now because it's 100 syllables. But you can just say Om Vajrasattva Hum. Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum, Om Vajrasattva Hum. You could do that 7 times or 21 times. Regret, reliance, remedy, resolve. I resolve not to yell again at that person today. You can just run through the 4 steps quickly. And then at night before you go to bed, you might do a visualization, doing the 4 powers, thinking about each of those 4 powers in relation to what you did today. And the remedy involves doing that purification visualization of white healing light entering your body. There are many options, but they all involve those 4 powers: regret, reliance, remedy, resolve. And at least I got that we ran out of time and didn't get on to death and dying, but we got all of karma done. So that's really cool. And maybe we can really think about how our karma is playing out in our daily life as homework. That's where the workshop is, as Rabina Courtin always says, is applying it to ourselves in our daily life. So are there any final questions or comments? Hello, says Sue. All of karma well done. How do you know you weren't here, Sue? Thank you, John and Crystal and Vince and Sue, for being here. We all have group karma as well, which is wonderful. We've all definitely had connection in previous lives. So we have group karma as well as individual karma. Thank you, Aleta. I needed that lesson. Was that Crystal or Vince? I'm working so much with karma in my practice these days. It's really, really something I'm focusing on, and it's being very, very beneficial in all sorts of ways. And we might ask for a Vajrasattva retreat when VI is back open to people there. Crystal. I know you guys work on yourselves so much all the time, and that's really exciting. I really rejoice that you're all working on your minds and realizing that you're responsible for yourself and trying to be the best version of yourself you can be. Thank you so much. And we can dedicate all our efforts in being here to helping not just us, but helping every being to be kinder, more compassionate, caring, wise people. And we can dedicate to us being able to perfect our mind. Once we can perfect our mind, be a Buddha ourselves, we can help every being to also be free from suffering and to reach their own potential, to perfect their minds as well. Not just people, but every insect and animal, every being that has a mind and a heart. And thank you all for helping me. It's good karma that we're all helping each other. We're all in this together. That was always one of my favourite songs, even before COVID. Sue wants to learn about purification as well. Yep, let's ask VI for a purification retreat. They could even do it on YouTube, couldn't they? Let's ask. We can all send an email. We'll do that and see what our karma's like, see if we get a good effect from it. It was lovely to be with you all, and I wish you well. And I wish I could remember what Jumper said about, I hope your karmic conditions are good. And if they're not, I hope you transform them into the path, something like that. So even when you have bad, negative conditions arise, you can transform that into positive. You take care too, Sue. All of you take care and be safe and stay in. Bye. I have to give one little kiss because I can't help myself. Bye. Don't tell anyone that I blew a kiss, okay? Bye. I can't end stream. Got it.